CSIR IPU initiated the monthly lecture series on occasion of WIPO Day 2023, and in that series the first lecture was held in May 2023. This was under the able guidance of RDG CSIR Dr. N. Kalaiselvi and Head IPU Dr. Vibha Malhotra Sahni. Today we bring to you the November 2023 lecture. I, Dr. Bhanu Verma, along with my team, Dr. Lipika Patnaik and Dr. Ms. Ajeta Agarwal, bring to you the lecture by Mr. Pratyush Maiti, Chief Scientist, CSMCRI, Bhavnagar, on potash fertilizer technologies at CSMCRI, Bhavnagar. Before we start the lecture, I shall give a brief introduction of Mr. Pratyush Maiti. Mr. Pratyush Maiti is a chemical technologist with a BTech degree from University of Calcutta. He has over 12 years of experience in industry. That is, prior to joining CSIR, he was working for 12 years in industry. Currently, he is working as chief scientist at CSMCRI, Bhavnagar. Can you put down your mic, please? Whoever spoke, Mr. Kumar, can you just put down your mic? Switch off your mic. Mr. Pratyush Maiti works in the area of potash chemicals, salt separation and purification. There is a little disturbance. Yeah, Dr. Rajagopal, yeah, please. Dr. Maiti, I would like you to please switch on your mic. Please put on your camera so that,
Sure.
yeah. So, Mr. Maiti is a project leader in several multi-institutional as well as industry-funded projects of CSMCRI Bhavnagar. He has around 12 highly cited publications and 7 patents which have already been granted. He is a recipient of CSIR Technology Award in 2019 and NRDC National Innovation Award 2019. I would not come between you and Mr. Maiti, and we will request Mr. Maiti to now begin with his presentation and give his talk on today's topic. Dr. Maiti, please.
Thank you very much.
You're
Good
welcome.
morning to all.
Good morning.
Thanks to CSR and CSR IPU for this one. Will we highlight the technology developed?
Your voice is breaking.
At CSMC only. It is not potash fertilizer technology. CSR. So, like start presentation.
Mr. Maiti, your voice is breaking.
Here. Am I audible?
It is breaking in between. Can you log out and log in again? Maybe it will work, or you can speak a little more and let us see, because it is breaking right now.
So, in that side, go for headphone mode.
Yeah, the headphone will be better.
Can you hear it now? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Fine. So I'll proceed with the presentation. Client. Hello.
Yes, sir, it is visible. But sir, your voice is still not clear.
Now? Hello?
Yeah, your voice is actually not clear and it is echoing a little.
Sir, it will be better if you please switch off your video and continue, please. I think there is some issue in network. You please switch off your video.
If I switch off the video, will the screen be visible?
Yeah, screen will be visible. That is not an issue. We will not be able to see your frame, but the screen will be visible.
Fine.
Yeah.
So now it's all right. Hello.
Yeah, it is still not. It is still okay. You can start and let us see if it still continues to echo a little.
Okay, fine. So,
it is better now.
Potash Pardon?
It is better now.
Fine. So today's talk is on potash fertilizer technologies developed at CSMCRI over several decades. So this is our outline. I'll briefly touch upon activities about CSMCRI and then importance of potash fertilizer, particularly in Indian context, and a snapshot of CSMCRI's journey over the years. And then a bit detailed discussion on individual feedstock that we work on for potash fertilizer recovery. And finally, the IPR portfolio that we generated cumulatively over the years. So this institute, Central Salt and Research Institute, was established in 1954 with the aim of becoming the global leader in salt production in Bhavnagar, Gujarat. Presently, we are known as Central Salt and Marine Chemical Research Institute to encompass the wide range of R&D activities around seawater system, and focus areas are salt and marine chemicals, functional materials, seaweed, water, renewable energy, environment, and waste wealth. More than 85 scientists and 200 plus project staffs, including research scholars, out of the centralized laboratory, and generating nearly plus publications and 15 plus patents annually. We are working extensively with industry through exploratory projects, consultancy, technology licensing, etc. Now, why potash is important? The issue is that it is one of the major agri-nutrient along with nitrogen and phosphorus. Helps crops give better yield and
Dr. Maiti, I would like to
yeah.
interfere. Abhi, right now somebody else also wrote in chat box that it is not audible and not able to hear properly. Quite a few people are writing. I would request you to, if you could log out and log in, maybe it might work better.
Sure, I'll do.
Or you may, if it is not still working, you may seek some assistance from your laboratory. Let us see if it is working by logging out, and generally this kind of problem is resolved by logging out and logging in again. Maybe that is an issue if we can resolve like that.
नहीं एक तो आईपी वाला कुछ करते हैं ना इसमें एक लीक आता है तो इसलिए ज्वाइन करते हैं.
In the meanwhile, I'll like all the other participants and guests to please switch off their mic and their camera so that there is no disturbance in the process here. Yeah, thank you.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
So can I continue with the presentation?
Yes, sir. Now it is very clear.
Thank you very much. So you can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
we can see.
Fine. So potash, what I wanted to emphasize, is an important ingredient for agricultural productivity. Now, globally, around 40 million ton of K2O, I mean, it is expressed in the form of K2O, mined or harvested as potassium chloride or potassium sulfate generally. So the production is concentrated in handful of countries, while requirement is among all the agricultural nations. And India consumes about 4 million ton of K2O, potash fertilizer, and imports the entire requirement. And incidentally, this is the 1920 figure, just pre-COVID. Expenditure was in excess of 8,000 crores, and this is fully foreign exchange outflow. And one point we need to remember here, that being an imported commodity, it is also susceptible to geopolitical issues. For example, the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict and like that. So any disturbance in global can affect the strategic food security issue for the entire population of the country. From this perspective, it has been long been felt that India should have at least some amount of indigenous potash production to circumvent such issues. Now, this is a snapshot how CSMCRI is working on potash technologies over the years. If you look at it, started in the early 60s, and around 90s, the muriate of potash technology, and followed by integrated technology of sulfate of potash and magnesia. All these things had been done based on seawater system. And here I would like to draw your attention to this particular line. It is basically initial efforts. Even now, we are working on this line, that focus is on bitter, that is the liquid mother liquor left after production of salt from seawater system. That bittern is relatively rich in potassium. So that had been the preferred feedstock for potash fertilizer recovery for a very long period. And we are still working on it. And another approach gradually emerged, that is looking at other feedstocks as well as to look at options apart from the evaporative techniques of potash-rich mixed salt generation. So first I will go into the seawater or bittern-based potash fertilizer recovery initiatives at this institute. This is a schematic of how seawater is processed for production of salt. Now, if you look at, the whole thing is done through natural evaporation, that is in open ponds using solar energy as the evaporating agent. Once salt is generated, that is the common salt portion, the liquid that is around 29 degree Bombay is basically a measure of density, degree Bombay. It corresponds to somewhere around 1.25 specific gravity. This bittern is actually rich in potassium, in the sense containing about 1 to 1.2% of K plus. And the conventional technologies that we just saw basically work upon the natural evaporation of bittern to generate potash-rich mixed salt. And this mixed salt is further processed in plant to generate potassic fertilizer, scheduled potassic fertilizer, like shonite or sulfate of potash. This is the schematics, this portion, that is the bittern to SOP. This portion right now is not worked upon extensively commercially. Current practice is to discharge the bittern after recovery of salt. I mean, not recovering value is the current practice. Incidentally, we being the third largest salt manufacturer globally, producing around 30 million ton of salt per year, this particular system can potentially generate 3 to 4 lakh ton of potash fertilizer annually. Now, since this is a universal resource and available extensively along coastal areas, particularly having low humidity throughout the year, this particular feedstock attracted attention across the researcher spectrum. And in the early 60s, the work started for recovery of muriate of potash. Muriate of potash is basically favored as low-cost, high K2 containing fertilizer, and several pilot plant options were installed across different locations. Although the process chemistry was quite well understood, feedstock generation and operational issues eventually curtailed further commercialization initiatives in this regard. In around early 90s, some of the scientists of this institute did some field survey in Greater Rann of Kutch. Greater Rann of Kutch is the area in northwestern part of Gujarat state, bordering Pakistan. This particular area has a unusual topography in the sense that during high tide, seawater comes in, but when low tide starts, due to depression in the land topology, the water cannot go back, and that area is relatively arid, that is having relatively lower humidity and high sunshine. So seawater starts to get concentrated and creates a pool of natural brine and natural concentrated brine. And this particular phenomena generated a potential potash recovery prospect, and subsequently around 2006-2008, Archean Chemical Industries identified some land parcel in this area and set up their commercial plant for sulfate of potash production using this naturally concentrated brine. CSMCRI was a technology provider for this particular plant. And the schematic flow diagram is basically elaborates the integrated process for sulfate of potash and refractory grade magnesia for this particular project. There are issues related to this particular approach, that it requires a very dry climate and very large land area, and any unseasonal rain will affect the production of feedstock, that is the kyanite type mixed salt. And to explain it on a physical chemistry context, this graph is basically representing equilibrium sea brine density with prevailing relative humidity. Now, if you look at salt production is nearly complete when system humidity is lower than 77% ambient humidity, relative humidity. Whereas the potash bearing mixed salt, that starts crystallization around 50% RH and completes around 40% RH, which is relatively much lower and not easily encountered across Indian landmass, except Greater Rann of Kutch and Little Rann of Kutch, parts of those zones. We had a project on this evaporated waste technology with Tata Chemical, a DST funded project for a pilot plant operation to run that SOP process, SOP magnesia process. But due to relatively higher ambient RH, there the RH was not coming down below 53. So they were unable to produce mixed salt in reasonable quantity. And that way the project got subsided. To circumvent this particular limitation, we developed a hybrid approach where we evaporate the bitumen partially till around 33° moment, which you can see can be achieved somewhere around 60% RH or so, and process the resultant bitumen for recovery of multiple products like magnesium sulfate and potassium nitrate. This is basically a selective precipitation of potassium as potassium bitartrate and processing that further to generate necessary potash fertilizer. This technology was licensed to Lakshmi Industries Madurai. They basically worked upon this to generate potassium nitrate for firecracker applications, fireworks applications. Now, I'll come to section 2 of the feedstock, that is potash fertilizer from distillery effluent or waste. Just a background that in India, we have around 5 million hectares of sugarcane farming, and 400 plus distilleries are operating, generating around 2.5 to 3 billion liter alcohol. Now, in process of alcohol production, conventionally, it was done using molasses. It is called sea molasses rather. And this molasses was subjected to fermentation and distillation to generate ethanol, and the liquid, that is residual liquid after ethanol distillation, is basically called spent wash. It is a very potentially polluting stream containing very high BOD, COD, and TDS, and reported to be very effective in soil degradation as well as groundwater contamination. There are several cases reported as well as decided at NGT, National Green Tribunal, regarding issues arising out of spent wash pollution. And CPCB, Government of India, they designated this particular industry, alcohol producing industry, as a water polluting industry on account of this spent wash menace. For us, if we look at the common practice globally regarding spent wash management, it is used either in fertigation, biomethanation, composting, incineration. The last two are approved by CPCB India. Now, none of the processes, if you look at, are basically trying to recover value which is present in the form of potassium salts, and the spent wash incidentally contain around 1% potassium. In pan-Indian context, it is translates to around 0.29 million ton of K2O annually. So this is the reason why we started working on it as a potassic feedstock. And one more point to note is that the incineration technique, which is approved by CPCB, generates an ash, which is basically rich in potassium, 15 to 25%, as reported in Indian context. So what we will present next 2-3 slides is that how we are managing both the spent wash as well as incinerator ash to generate value-added chemicals like potash fertilizers and other derivatives. This is our first technique, that is, we are processing spent wash directly from distillery. Water recovery and potash recovery, both are looked into, and eventually we are ending up with 3 distinct product streams. One is the water, which is recycled back into the system. Second is the potash fertilizer. We are recovering it in the form of FCO grade sulfate of potash or potash derived from molasses, even as potassium nitrate. And along with that, the potash free organic stream, that is, we term it as depotash vinasse. This actually goes for cattle feed binder. And this cattle feed binder application had been separately endorsed by National Dairy Research Institute, ICR Institute at Karnal, and also endorsed for commercial utilization by Department of Animal Husbandry, Government of India. This particular plant had been installed at Aurangabad Distillery, Walchand Nagar, Maharashtra. Our technology deployment partner is ChemProcess, designed and implemented this plant. Current status, that is 2021-22 and 22-23 financial year, the plant had produced PDN FCO grade 7,600 ton, sulfate of potash 200 ton, D-potash vinasse 4,000 ton, and it is operational since January 22. So they are generating revenue out of spent wash. And this is the second system, that is incinerator ash processing to generate value-added potassic fertilizers. Here, what we are doing is distillery ash is leached with water, and then the aqueous solution, which is again rich in potassium, along with chloride and sulfate, is treated for impurity removal and then subjected to fractional crystallization to generate 100% water-soluble sulfate of potash complying to FCO specification. FCO stands for Fertilizer Control Order. And any fertilizer being sold in India has to comply with these FCO specifications. And subsequently, we are also generating muriate of potash and mixed salt, sodium chloride, potassium chloride mixture, which is planned to be used for edible application, low sodium salt applications. This technology was jointly developed with ChemProcess and implemented at DCM Sriram Bioenchem, Hariwar, Hardoi, UP. Right now, the plant is under commissioning, and the sulfate of potash phase is nearly complete. Product quality is matching with their requirement. The plant can handle 60 ton of potash and will generate ash will generate about 4,500 ton of potash annually. These are some of the outcomes that we envisage out of this distillery waste management for potash recovery, and numbers are reasonably significant considering India is second largest producer of sugarcane globally. And we are also aligning, this project is also aligned with UN SDGs. So overall, it is supposed to be a win-win approach for policymakers as well as user industries. And this section, basically, this is a relatively nascent stage, and we are working on several aspects of this. The idea is India being an agrarian country, so availability of agro residues, which do not have the competition of food versus fuel competition, can be utilized for recovery of potash fertilizer, and that will be to an extent biomining of potash. That is, whatever plant takes up from the soil, that potash is realized as fertilizer and goes back to soil. Our criteria for selecting the biomass was K content in biomass and ash, availability, that is more or less localized cultivation, and avoidance of food versus fuel issue. We identified 4 feedstocks: cotton boll, castor stalk, soybean straw, and rapeseed or mustard straw. And the availability figures are basically sourced from available literatures, and potentially this particular group of feedstocks can generate about 1 million ton potash annually. And another important thing that I want to highlight is that this work on this recovery of potash fertilizer from agro residue, ash, basically is a precursor for our IP related to the incinerator ash-based premium quality sulfate of potash manufacturing technique, which is being implemented TCMCRI now. And this is basically, we are reaching the end stage of the presentation. These are some of the IPs that we have secured in this particular domain. If you look at the initial trend was on C-butane system, gradually we are also incorporating other feedstocks like distillery effluent, and we hope few more can be added in the coming year. Thank you very much for your time. We thank all the support and patrons for these projects and the effort of our colleagues presently and who have already been there. They appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Maiti. I would like to you had said that you have 7 or 8 or 9 patents which have been granted in this field from your research work, and there are certain there is one plant that you that has been commissioned for for this technology, and it is in the process of being commissioned, and you said that. And I would like to ask you the process that you followed for that technology transfer and the plant which has been I'm sorry, I have to go back to you and ask you which is the plant that you were speaking of, because I missed the plant name. So I would like you to give a little brief on how did the technology transfer happen in this case, and this was a patented technology that you said. And what was the process adopted for, that joint commissioning of, or the commissioning of plant that you are saying that it is under commission and it is going to start shortly?
Well, I presume you are talking about this particular.
DCM plant Hariwan and Hardoi. You said it is being commissioned, and so I would like you to give a little brief on how did the process go about the technology transfer, and how did you how were you able to come give this technology away to Hariwan Hardoi DCM plant.
Actually,
at this,
yes, madam, I understood.
Yeah.
Actually, we are working with DCM since I think 2018, 2017 or 2018.
Okay.
And basically, after the deliberation initially, started with spent wash as well as distillery ash. They already had installed incinerator at their plant, distillery at Hariwan. Now, gradually it crystallized that they were having a requirement of sulfate of potash, 100% water soluble grade, which was being imported into India exclusively at a reasonably high price premium. This particular grade, that is the 100% water soluble, this grade demands around 50% premium over regular FCO grade sulfate of potash. I mean, to put it in perspective, if sulfate of potash FCO grade is around 35 rupees a kilo, then FCO 100% water soluble will be somewhere around 50 plus.
I'll interrupt a little bit. I'll understand that the cost of import is very high and the indigenous technology is cheaper, and that is why we are going ahead. We have outlined 3 or 4 processes from which you have been able to have the potash. One was bittern, one was from bittern, one from distillery ash, one from I would like everybody else to put off their mics, please.
पेंशन का तूने क्रिएट किया है क्या?
Please switch on your mics. Please switch off your mics.
ये देखो, ये अपडेटेड क्या है? ये सब बाइफरकेशन ही है.
नहीं, ईमेल ये नहीं डाला मैंने, लास्ट डाला ही.
ये आप
दिखाना, ये बस मेरा बस इसी में मैंने ला के डाल दिया.
Can you please switch off your mics? Thank you. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you are not audible.
I'm audible now?
Yes, ma'am. Now
Yes. I was asking you the question on how were you able to transfer this technology, because this was a patented technology. You have already quoted the patent number and publication number, and this was the patented technology which was then further licensed to the DCM. This is what I understand, licensed to DCM.
Correct.
Now the process could have been a two-way process. One could have been that industry meets and the conferences and all that you have, and you had that technology transfer. Another way that the laboratories are going about is inviting the expression of interest and going through that channel. There is another way of business development where the industry are invited in-house to the laboratories. And so I wanted to ask you, which was the way that you went through this technology, and was the IP, the patent, was it, did it fetch you a little more, negotiating edge for transferring this technology, and were you able to get a little more, let us say, generate a little more revenue or a royalty rate for that matter? This was my question. And I understand that the technologies were developed because the cost of import from foreign countries is very high. And another question that I would like to put in this process is, what are the foreign jurisdiction countries that we are importing potash from?
Okay, madam. Now let
Two
us
questions
go one
now.
by one.
Yeah.
Number one is that, as I told you, we are working with DCM since 2018. So gradually it so happened that the idea of recovering potash fertilizer from distillery ash, that became their priority. And seeing that, we also basically devoted more resource to develop a process to suit their requirement. That is the final product specification. And eventually around 21 or 22, that time the product got approved by DCM. And simultaneously, we also applied for IP. Seeing that this particular technique had not been disclosed in any of prior art or publications. And right now, what we are seeing is that this particular material, as I can tell you that this happened because of working closely with industry, and the interest came from the industry side, and we responded to the requirement. That is how this whole venture fructified. I hope I am clear.
Yeah, thank you. Another part was, what are the jurisdictions that you are, or what are the countries which are major exporters of potash, and for that matter, what are the countries that India is importing from, so that we understand the foreign currency part, where how much amount could be spent. You already said that in 2020 we spent around 8,366 crores for import for potash. What were the areas which are traditionally known to be exporting potash, and India has been importing from them. So
Yes.
this, China, Belarus, Russia, Canada.
India primarily imports potash in the form of MOP, muriate of potash, potassium chloride. If we consider around 4 million ton of potash is imported, then we can safely say 95 to 97% of that is muriate of potash. It is reasonably low cost compared to sulfate of potash and other potassic fertilizers, and delivers more K content. That is, the specification is around 60% K2O minimum. And our primary import partners are Canada, Belarus, Ukraine, and Israel and Jordan. These are the primary countries from where muriate of potash is imported into India. As far as sulfate of potash goes, it is principally Germany and say part of Netherlands or that European Union countries. So the Ukraine-Russia conflict actually created quite a reasonable impact on import pricing for India. It spiked nearly 3 times and stabilized at around twice or 2.5 times. So these are the issues why.
Yeah, because these are the countries which are major exporters, and India is the major importing from these countries. So it happens like it in case of petroleum products that we go to, and in those zones, if there is a turmoil, then of course the prices spike, and if we are not in the most favored nation or let us say in that group of countries which are favoring each other much more, then we are paying a little more higher price or much more higher price when such turmoil occurs. Yeah, much more. Yeah. So I like to invite my colleague, Dr. Lipika, who will now take the question answer session. Lipika?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Mephrey, for this very interesting talk on potash fertilizer technology developed by CSMCRI. You have provided us with a very interesting insight in this particular field. You have emphasized on the requirement or availability of potash, which is very important for our country. You have also provided insight into the production of potash fertilizers from seawater, particularly bittern, which was generally not used or waste. And you have also focused on how you have overcome the challenges and obtained potassium nitrate from the sea bittern. And further, you have also provided very interesting insight on obtaining potash fertilizers from distillery effluents, and particularly from spent wash and incinerated ash. And further, from the agro residue by biomining potash from cotton balls, castor, soybean, rapeseed, and mustard straws. And you have also provided how you have protected the IPs and you have commercially exploited them as well. So a very interesting talk. Now this floor is open for question answer session. I would request the participants to raise your hands, and once called upon, please introduce yourself and proceed with your questions. Otherwise, you can also provide your questions in the chat box, which I will be putting through to the speaker. So now I can see a hand raised. Dr. Rajgopal, please.
Yeah, good morning and a very good talk and big technology, and congratulations for CSR Technology Award also. And I understand you have covered all the sources which can produce potash. But I am interested to know whether any bacteria as a source for the production of potash. Any reports or anybody initiated the work, something like that.
Can you please repeat? I didn't get the second part.
Hello.
Can you please repeat? I didn't get the question.
Yeah, the question is there any reports where bacteria used as a source for potash production?
Well, there are several efforts, particularly for potassic mineral, utilization of potassic mineral for generating a potash nutrient-rich matrix, where plant can take up the potassium from them. For example, people have worked on feldspar as well as gluconite for microbe-aided loosening of the K, so that plant can take up them from the siliceous matrix.
Okay, it is like metabolic.
Unfortunately, those are yet to be tried or tested on a commercial scale. I mean, relatively large scale and commercialized. Yeah. But what had been done and is going on also.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So these are essentially, potassium. No, just a minute. These are basically the bacteria or the microbes which are solubilizing bacteria from and making it from the minerals and making it available to plants for absorption. This is what is being done, as I understand, Dr. Maiti?
It is done that way also, as well as it basically works upon the siliceous matrix. For example, in potash feldspar, it breaks down the matrix, so potassium becomes available. As well as bacteria takes up the potassium and then releases it as a metabolized product. Both
Yeah,
are
so
equal.
okay, so there are quite a few species, but they have not been worked upon commercially to be used as maybe a biofertilizer kind of mix, chemical and a biofertilizer mix kind of situation. Thank you.
Eventually, the commercial decision, as I understand, is not only whether doable or not. The additional criteria, that is whether economically attractive or not. As of now, probably the economics are not that favorable.
Yeah, it may not be
But might be
commercially viable
a scenario in the coming days.
Yeah, but then if the process is stabilized and sometimes what happens is these processes may be expensive in small quantities, but when you apply the scales and when you apply it in large amounts and when you are able to do it, stabilize the process and make the protocol viable or put down that this is the protocol which works and you scale it up to a level where it can then become a little more commercially viable. Because small quantities will anyhow have a little more larger economic inputs than a larger quantity, because then you are able to get larger amount to be able to develop it for revenue purposes also. So Dr. Rajagopal, can you just put down your hand if you are through with your question? Thank you.
Lipika, you are on mute.
The next question we can take from Dr. Balachandra. Ma'am, please.
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, ma'am, we can hear you.
So it is a good piece of work, Dr. Maiti. I just want to know that, see, there is also in Dhampur, there is one similar process operating since last more than a year. So how is your process different from that process for distillery fly ash?
I mean, I'm not actually aware about the process operating at Dhampur. So it would be difficult for me to comment on that.
Okay, because it is also from incineration fly ash and separating MOP.
But then, Dr. Balachandran, I understand that Dhampur and DCM may be working on similar kind of, product. So the distillery ash part will be also a little similar. So might be that they might have taken technology from somebody else, but it might be a similar technology. If the product or the initial material is same, then it might be a little more. It seems to be a little. Dhampur and DCM are both in production of sugar from sugarcane bagasse, sugar cane and all those things. So if I understand correctly.
Yeah. Because that plant is running for almost a year now, and I mean, they are already, the product is out and things like that. So
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam, you are mute.
The next question from Dr. Sujansa. So please.
Good morning, madam. Congratulations, sir, for your nice presentation. Actually, it is one of the recent success story of CSIR. So I have a couple of questions, sir. Basically, you have outlined three processes for the recovery of potash. Number one is from seawater, then industry effluent, and number three, agro residue. So my first question is, sir, among these three sources, in Indian scenario, which one is more viable or more important? And number two, sir, basically you have transferred this process to the industry, that DCM, that distillery incinerator ash, and as you have shown that the plant is operating at the capacity of 60 ton per day. So, sir, my question, actually, I would like to know that at what level you have established this process in your laboratory, sir? At pilot scale, what was the capacity you have established the process, and from pilot scale to directly you have transferred to the industry, or there was some bench scale process you have established, then ultimately you have transferred to the industry. And in this technology also, basically your input with the process, or have you actually have you transferred the plant design technology design regarding the hardware of the plant? And number 4, sir, I would like to know that basically the potash what India is importing, price varying from 16,000 to 27,000 rupees per ton, what you have shown in your slide. And right now the technology what you have transferred to the industries, what is their production cost, or at which rate they are selling this potash? These are the questions, sir. Please.
Thank you. So let me go one by one. Number 1, we talked about 3 resources. That is seawater-based potassium recovery, then distillery effluent and waste-based potash recovery, and agro-waste-based potash recovery. Out of the, all are important, and all are important particularly in Indian context, since we need to consume potash to produce sufficient food for our population. Rather, I would like to tell you what is the easiest way or least obstacle path to go ahead about distillery effluent and distillery ash. That portion is relatively, we can call it low-hanging fruit, because operational plants are there, and this is basically a plant-based process. That is, within the process plant, we can do the whole chemistry, and we do not need to depend on natural conditions. So number of variables are less, relatively easy to implement and achieve. Easy in the sense, say a time frame of 5 to 10 years, achievable to do at least 20% potash recovery capacity in Indian context. Number 2 is that seawater-based potash recovery. Basically, the technologies are in the offing where we can consider setting up new plants, commercial scale, to demonstrate seawater-based potash recovery capability. And finally, the agro-residue based, that is why I put finally. The process seems to be easier, but the logistics and centralizing the agro-residue for further downstream processing, that probably will create the biggest hurdle. So those things require much more intervention from policymakers as well as local governing bodies.
Yes, so, in case of agro-residue, that's supply availability chain, supply demand chain is the main constraint.
Supply chain is the primary constraint.
Yes.
So I hope the first portion of your questions answered.
Yes.
Second is that what is the second one? I forgot.
Sir, actually you have transferred this technology to DCM, that is distillery incinerator ash, and the plant capacity is 60 ton per day. So at what level you have established in your laboratory?
We did fully lab experiments only. That is in beaker, say up to a liter, that is 200 gram of ash processing to establish the process chemistry. Our technology partner, that is Chem Process Systems, they basically set up the pilot facility where about a ton of ash was processed in batch. mode and product is generated. Based on those pilot data, the final plant that is implemented and being commissioned had been designed. And it is behaving more or less as we wanted it.
So, sir, what is the role of CSMCR? Actually, basically to transfer this process or design engineering to set up the plant?
No, we are only the process chemistry part.
Process chemistry. Okay.
Yeah.
And
the engineering part, we understand that is why we partnered with an EPC firm who have relatively better expertise than us in engineering the plant.
Okay.
While we are good at chemistry, they are good at engineering.
Okay. And basically, sir, in your IP, your industry partner, they are actually IP also with them, or basically it is of alone CSMCRI?
No, IPU with them. We work together for developing the process in the lab itself.
Joint IP. Joint IP.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then, sir, actually the import cost in India of potash is around, it varies
the
from
price that you are quoting, that is pre-COVID price, probably. Once the Russia-Ukraine conflict started, the MOP price shoot up from $200 to $20 to around $700 to $800. That is nearly fourfold rise. I think, as far as I remember, the price got stabilized somewhere around $500. That is nearly double of what we were paying earlier. Right now, the plant at DCM that is producing potassium sulfate, premium grade. That material is being imported into India at a price point of around 50 to 55 rupees, pre-COVID again. And cost of production, if our computations are correct, then it will be somewhere around 22 rupees. So we have margin.
Per kg, 22 rupees per kg.
Correct.
Okay. And importing cost is 50 to around 50 to 55 rupees per kg.
Pre-COVID, now probably it is around 60.
Okay. And another question, sir. Actually, basically, you are extracting the potash from the incinerator ash, and in those ashes, you have shown that potassium oxide concentration.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Please continue.
Not getting you, sir. Actually.
Please continue your question.
Okay. So, sir, actually, the source of the incinerator ash, the potash concentration is around more than 8%. What I have seen from your slide, 8% to 20%, whatever may be. But basically, I am interested, sir, that as we are working with the coal, in case of biomass, ash percentage is very less, but in some biomass, potassium concentration is very high. But in case of coal, the scenario is opposite, that as in coal ash percentage is very high, but in that ash percentage potassium concentration is low, and it may go up to 2%, 3%. So what can you use that huge amount of fly ash or coal ash for the potash extraction, sir? Is it possible?
We do not have, we at CSMCRI, right? Yeah. Have not worked on fly ash for potash recovery. And I think 2% K concentration is relatively low for the process to be effective. Because in that case, you will end up with very high amount of water containing relatively diluted potassium solution. And evaporation cost and other aspects probably will be not very favorable. But all those are based on presumptions. We have not worked on it.
Sir, what will be the optimum concentration of potash in the, potassium oxide in the ash for economic recovery?
We have done it earlier with something like 8%.
Okay.
10%. and found out that if process is designed appropriately, then even 8% ash is okay. 8% is water soluble K.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
There is a question in the chat box from Dr. Raghunathan, and it is about phosphate recovery. The question is, can we also work on phosphate sludge for phosphate recovery? And the sludge is posing environmental issues and being used for landfills.
We can look into it.
It is there in the chat box.
We can look into it. We can look into the material for recovering the value-added product. Not an issue. We're open to such collaborations. Madam, just one thing I wanted to tell you. My computer, I mean, the window message is that it is likely to be restarted in another 6 minutes. So I don't know whether any questions are there.
There seems to be no more questions. Yeah, there seems to be no more.
Just to give you a warning, because suddenly it will go off.
You can actually overrule that if your system is saying that you can say
the snooze
you are unable to.
Snooze button is not working.
I think we will be, because there are no more questions, and if there are any further questions, we are not seeing any raised hands. There's one more, Lipika. See, there is one more person who's coming, I think.
Is there a question? I think there are no further questions. I would like to thank the participants for their very active participation and the speaker for very aptly answering the queries. And I would like to request my colleague Ajeta to offer the vote of thanks. Thank you. Ajeta, please.
Thank you, Lipika. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of IPU, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our DG ma'am, Dr. N. Kalai Selvi, for providing her immense support for organizing this program, this lecture series. And our humble thanks to the CSMCRI Director, Dr. Kanan Srivastav, for nominating Dr. Pratyush Methi for this lecture. Our sincere thanks to our head, Dr. Vibha Malhotra Sahane, for constantly encouraging us for organizing such programs. Thank you, ma'am. And on behalf of CSI family, I extend a special thanks to our guest of the day, Dr. Pratyush Methi, Chief Scientist from CSMCRI, for sharing his journey with us today. Sir, your knowledge and experience will truly going to inspire all of us, sir. I would like to thank all the participants for attending this lecture series, and I would also like to thank the SCDD team and IT team for their support in giving the series a wide coverage. Thank you all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Methi. Thank you, all the participants. Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you.